So welcome back, and in this episode we're going to look at putting the kerfings on. So that's the liner that goes inside of the sides that the top can glue onto, really. Relatively straightforward, so this is how you do it. So now the plan said there needs to be mahogany blocks at the top here. You see where I've cracked that bit. So the easiest way, the best way is to actually use what we've got here to make that. So I put them underneath. See, I've kind of blocked it up on the blocks while it's still in the mould, and I'm just using that pencil to mark where it's going to go. I'll cut that shape and then I'll trim it to fit at the back. And here's the first one done. So mostly I cut it on the bandsaw and then I sanded it down to the right shape. You see that fits reasonably nicely into that gap now. So all I need to do, add a bit of glue, clamp it in place. As you can see, I'm clamping it into the actual mould as well, so it should hold the shape that it's supposed to be in. I've also put a little bit of paper underneath again to isolate the glue and stop me from sticking it to the bench. And while the end blocks are drying, we can start thinking about the kerfing. And this is the stuff that goes on top of the sides, if you like, to give you more area to glue the top onto. Now, you can make them. You get a strip of mahogany and you can saw into it all these little saw cuts, which frankly is a pain in the bum. Or you can be really lazy, you can buy it ready-made, which is what I've done. It's a bit expensive, but it saves a job that I really hate doing. And this stuff is quite good. It's really flexible because it's been cut. It can be quite bendy. So round the bends like here, I can put it around this one. Now what I've done is cut it into short strips as well. You don't want to be having the whole length of it because it goes all over the place. It's really hard to deal with. So you cut it into this, maybe slightly shorter even, and you then can pop it into the bend like so, and you can then peg it in place and leave it to dry. When it comes to the sharper bends, what you're going to have to do is soak this in warm water for a good 15 minutes, and that'll give it a bit of extra bend. And what I tend to do is to clip it on, let it dry, and then glue it afterwards, because if you glue it while it's wet, the glue doesn't really stick very well. So let's put this in place. And for this job, to be honest, the best thing are good old clothes pegs. So we pop some glue on here. Like so. And don't forget that we put the fat end goes upwards. So now on a normal guitar, the top has a gentle curve in it, which means that you have to put these slightly covered in glue, slightly sticking up above the rim here, so that you can then plane it back to get that curve on. Now this guitar, I think, is flat as you come up here, and it then comes up a bit like a violin does. So I don't think you need to have it protruding. However, I'm going to put it in slightly protruding from the top anyway, so that I can then plane it down, because what I don't want is for it to turn out to be slightly low, which means the top's not going to contact with it. So I'm just pushing it so I can feel about 1 millimetre. And then I can just pin it with a clothes peg there, and then I'm just going to follow it around, and every few centimetres I'm just going to put a clothes peg. Nice plastic, strong ones are the best. There we go. Leave that to dry for a while and I'll come back to it in an hour or so. So for this next bit here, obviously this is quite a tight curve, so this I've soaked in warm water, and we should find, with a bit of luck, that it'll go around that curve very gently. And it does. And then I can just look at how long it is, how long it needs to be, which is there, trim it off, and then I can peg it in place. So now it's the next day. I could take off the pegs from the one that was wet, and there we are. Look, it's kept its shape quite nicely, and all I need to do, add some glue, stick it in place. And there we are. You can see I've put plenty of pegs on to make sure it's absolutely bonded. And remember, a very slight ridge, because it doesn't matter if it's slightly above, because you can plane it off. If it's too low, then it won't work. There we go. Leave that to dry for an hour or so, and we'll do the other one. So once all of the kerfings are in, they're all slightly proud now. So you can take a small block plane, and you can just use that to just bring it all back down so that it's all nice and level and smooth. And on this particular guitar, it needs to be flat here. On other guitars, because the top's domed, it needs a slight dome on it. So what you can do is get the lid, put it on, just check that it's making contact. If it's touching all the way around the edge, then these are probably right. So now once you're happy that all these are done and all these are nice and smooth and everything on this level is nice and flat, and you can do that, you can get a straight edge, best with a proper straight edge, and you can just check all the way across that everything is lining up and nothing is proud, so that when you put something flat on top of it, it'll all stick. Next thing is to flip it over and do the other side. Now be careful here, this is the front of the guitar, so I do not want to be sticking my guitar back on here. It'll be the wrong way round. So this whole thing should just lift out. Because it's symmetrical, I should be able to flip it over, fingers crossed, and it should just fit back into the mould the other way up. It's quite tight. There we go. There we go, that's it. Back in, and now repeat the process, stick a bunch more of these on this side. So that's the kerfings done. Now we're ready to glue the back onto the body, so it's starting to get exciting. That'll be the subject of the next episode. So in the meantime, please press subscribe, and maybe I'll see you next time.